G'day viewers, we're going back to Cottesloe and Eric Street, and we're going to look at a couple of things today. We're going to have a quick look at this cafe where I stopped in for a coffee while I waited for the light to improve a bit so I could film this without it being completely dark. So there you go, there's Cottesloe early in the morning, and I sat there long enough to read a few pages of the paper and drink that coffee. Check out that guy's rims. Weren't they bright and colour, well, shiny? Good reflection. Anyway, coming out of the city in the darkness, you can see how the lighting varies from section to section. Some areas it's just no lighting whatsoever. Other areas there's reasonably good lighting. And in some places there's lighting, but it seems every second globe is blown. But you definitely can't do this unless you've got lights on the bike. You can't rely on the street lighting to light the path sufficiently. Now, I've got to say, it actually looked darker than this. The camera has done a reasonable job of dealing with the low light conditions, but it seemed, to my eyes, it seemed a little bit darker, I think, than what you're seeing here. Interestingly here, they've changed to kind of knee-high globes, and then they've got no lighting at all, and then they go back to the overhead poles, and then they switch back to the knee-high poles. This is a new section. Why they went with that type of lighting, I have no idea. Along here, all the lights were switched off. Now, I don't know if that's because they're new lights and they haven't activated them yet, or whether they've got some timer that turns them off when the sun comes up. But notice along here, the street lights are on. So what's going on? Now, I didn't want to ride on the shared path at this time of the morning because the barriers were almost invisible. They've put barriers across the path to stop people walking and riding on it. And I could just see them, and I thought the last thing I want to do at this time of the morning is crash into a barrier because I can't see it. So that's why I stopped and had a coffee and went down and looked at the beach and that kind of thing. Anyway, we can see along here they've laid down the 150 mil of limestone, and they've rolled it, and it's really quite firm now, and these residents can now drive in and out of their driveways. That's all good. And it was certainly very nice to ride on, no problems with that. This stuff, once it's rolled like this and with a bit of water on it, it's like concrete. But notice how it changes colour here. Now that's not asphalt, that's the primer seal. And I looked up Austroads and they said it's a bitumen and cutter oil, and they spray it on, and 5 to 10 mil depth is what they want it to penetrate to. And then the asphalt that they stick on top then adheres to the primer coat. And the primer coat needs a couple of days to dry out before they can do the asphalt. So I would think if I run back there on the weekend, this might have an asphalt top coat. Maybe, maybe not. I guess we'll see. But they've done a fairly reasonably long section here with the primer seal, and again you can see these residents can drive in and out of their driveways. They don't seem to be worried about them driving across the primer seal in their vehicles. Had to walk around there. The barrier was a bit wide and the sand was a bit soft. Okay, now that's not quite it. Okay, yeah, you can see the road crossings here. Nicely done pram ramps and all the rest of it. The gradients are quite nice. It's looking like a pretty good path. I really can't see any major issues with it. Look, I guess once the barriers come down and we see residents driving in and out, we'll see what the conflicts are like. And I really want to see what it's like crossing those side roads once it opens up. What's it like? Are there any risks of getting clobbered by a car coming from either direction, or going around the roundabouts and not stopping, that kind of thing? Be interesting to see how that turns out. But you notice it's all black asphalt. For some reason they're not using the usual red asphalt along here, and the plans said it was supposed to be red concrete, so I don't know what happened to that. But I looked up the plans the other day and they still say red concrete, so maybe council hasn't updated them. Anyway, there you have it. That's some lighting and all the rest of it. And yeah, we'll just watch this train go by because I thought it was just a good bit of footage and nothing else. But I'll go back this weekend and see what else I can find.